Hey guys, this is my third attempt because I'm in a weird mood today, so wish me luck. So, many people are confused about how the English papers are set out, especially English literature, because with English language it's more about 50-50, and they're always saying, this is paper one, this is paper two, but not so much with English literature. Like, you just study lots of texts and poetry, but you don't know where they are. So, I thought I'd do a little video explaining it, so then, when you get into the exam, there's no surprises. Apart from the questions, and so then you don't think, oh gosh, I thought this was about Macbeth, but instead it's, something else. I've clearly forgotten. But right, so, there's two papers. So there's paper one and paper two. Paper one's 60%, no, paper one's 40%, paper two is 60%. So, paper one, so this is your Shakespeare text and your 19th century text. So, there's two questions. So there's, the first question is 30 marks and then an extra 4 marks for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And it will have an extract from the Shakespeare text. So it might be, it's a text that you've studied by Shakespeare, so Much Ado About Nothing, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, etc. It will have an extract, and it will say, starting with this extract, how does Shakespeare present so and so. So not only do you have to talk about what the question asks in the extract, but also throughout the rest of the play. So what I'd recommend doing is writing about a third of the essay about the extract, and then 2/3 of the essay about the rest of the play. But if it becomes more 50-50, that's okay. But just remember to include the rest of the play. That's the most important thing. But also the extract. Paper 2, this is also an extract, so this will be your 19th century text, so Sign of Ford, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, etc. And there's there's one question, sorry. And so I'll have an extract, and I'll say, starting with this extract, how does the writer present so-and-so? And so, again, so not only do you talk about the extract, but you also talk about the rest of the book or play. And that's 40%. Paper 2, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. So remember, this is for AQA. So at first, there's 4 questions. So the first question is 30 marks and 4 marks spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And this is about your modern texts. I say modern because a lot of these texts, they were written about 70 years ago, so I don't think they're modern, but anyway. So the first question will be about your modern text, so Animal Farm, or 1984, or actually I don't know if they're modern, but anyway. This won't have an extract. It'll have you, but what you do get is that you get 2 choices. So you'll have So there'll be 2 choices. Usually, don't take my word on this, but usually one question's about a character and one question is about a theme. So, for example, if you're doing an Inspector Calls, it would say, there'll be 2 questions like, how does how does the author or playwright present this character throughout the play, or how does the writer present this theme throughout the play, or maybe a combination of the 2, but you always get 2 choices. So that's 30 marks and an extra 4 marks. The second question, then it gets a bit tricky. So there's another 30 mark question, and it'll give you, there's 2 choices. There's love and relationships and power and conflict of poetry. So choose the one that you've studied. Obviously, you don't choose the other one. And then so it'll have a poem, read over it, and then it will say, compare how does this poem and another poem present the theme of love or something. It'll probably be a bit more specific, but and then you choose one of your own poems. So you have you have the whole poem for the one that they've told you, but the other one you have to know from memory. So you compare them. That's 30 marks. Then there's unseen poetry. So it'll have an unseen poem, one that you have not studied, and it will say something like, how does this poem present this theme? And it's 24 marks. So you write about, so this poem uses alliteration or thesaurus, etc. to present this theme. Then the final question is 8 marks. I know, it's a weird mini essay. And there'll be another unseen poem that you have that you have to read, and you'd have to compare it to the other poem. But it's not a big essay like the 2 poems that you've already studied. It should be about, depending on how long, it should be about 2 paragraphs. So not as long as the 24 marker or the 30 markers or any other of those questions. And then you're done. So what I should say though is that unlike English language, where you have the questions and the writing booklet, you're gonna have the questions separate, and you'll have to look for the text that you're studying, and then you'll have your own writing booklet where you write down the answer. Whereas in English language, you're just going to have you're gonna have them on the same paper. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can ask me or you can ask your teacher, because yeah, sorry, I've stuttered a lot today. Yeah, I've just it's been a long week. So yeah, thanks guys. I'm gonna upload a GCSE English language breakdown.